Hey guys, it's me Bethany, and for today's video I'm going to be talking about things you can add to your Bloxburg builds to make them more realistic. So anyway, before I get started, I just quickly want to mention these are mainly just things that I really recommend and suggest using in your builds. I'm not saying you have to use these things to have like realistic or like good builds. These are just things that I recommend if you are trying to find new items that can make your builds look more realistic. So the house I'm going to be doing a lot of these in is my unfinished Halloween house that I'm making. Whenever I finish it, I might do a tour of it, unless I randomly bulldoze it. But anyway, so the first thing is adding in light switches. Even though it's a really small thing that might not be that noticeable, it does make your builds look slightly more realistic, which this build isn't finished. So yeah, but basically here is how it looks. Even though it's not noticeable, basically, if you use any kind of light switch, then it will definitely look more realistic, even if it is very small. Next is add in some vents. Even though like the light switches, these are not that big of a notice, but if people are looking for the very tiny details, this will be a good thing to add to try and make your builds look a little bit more realistic, because even if it's just a small tiny detail, it can make your builds look way more realistic than they did before. So next is try not to go with crazy colors. So what I mean by this is like the highlighter colors in the game where they are super duper bright, because obviously pastel colors can make your house look realistic and all of those, but on the screen I will show you guys while I'm editing like the highlighter colors, I guess. So basically, even though you can make any color look realistic, these are really difficult to make look realistic, and a lot of the time it kind of just makes your house look like a really big highlighter. So what you will most likely want to do with this is just try and stick with colors that you either think looks good with realistic builds or that you know is used a lot with houses, because obviously you can experiment with different colors and stuff, and you can look for colors that are realistic. And if you do think one of these colors does look realistic, go ahead and use it, because obviously you can use whatever color you want. I'm not limiting off some colors. It's just I don't personally recommend these colors if you are trying to go strictly for a realistic build. Next is add pillars. Not every single place in my house has pillars right now because I'm not finished with it, of course. But basically, adding in pillars, even if it's just the really small ones, can definitely add a lot of detail to your builds, because even though I do know not every single house in existence has pillars on every single side of the wall, it is a nice thing to add that can make your builds have more detail and look more realistic. So next is adding in a garage. This is something that I don't usually do that much, but it does definitely make your builds more realistic. I just usually don't really put it in because I feel like a lot of the time I don't add in cars, so I feel like I don't have tons of need for it. But definitely if you are, again, strictly trying to build a realistic house, I do recommend adding it in, and especially if you do have a vehicle in the game, I'd recommend adding. So the next thing is adding in a driveway slash walkway to your house. So at this house I have both of them, but you can honestly only have like a walkway or only have a driveway. It just depends on what you decide to do, because yeah, and I do know that some houses don't have walkways and stuff, but if you are, again, strictly going on trying to make your house realistic, I do recommend adding them in, or adding in like the stepping stones, because that can add more detail and make your houses look way better in my opinion. Just don't go crazy with the rocks. And also I do recommend adding in like a porch here. Like I added in like 2 of the roof things from the basement pass. So then I have 2 little steps leading up to the porch. Obviously do that if you want to and if you think it would look good there, but that's another thing you can add to make it look more realistic. This is another thing that if you think it would look good, then add it, which is adding in wall trim on the outside and the inside, because on the inside right now I don't have tons of wall trim, but on the exterior of this house I do have some, but also the interior isn't done and the exterior is. So basically, just adding in wall trim can make your builds realistic both on the outside and the inside of it. So I do definitely recommend that. It's just sometimes difficult to add it in because you feel like it looks awkward or you feel like it looks weird. And then another thing is adding in these shutters, I think that's the name. For some reason I can't think of the name. But basically adding these in will definitely add more detail, because even though of course these are something that you don't fully need to have a realistic house, they definitely do make your house have more detail and look more realistic, at least in mine. So it started raining outside, so I don't want everything to start glitching because it's raining a ton. But basically what the next thing is adding in things outside, as in like bushes, plants, flowers, trees, all of that. Because this plot right now doesn't have tons of trees, but I had to delete them a few minutes ago. So basically just adding in these can make it more realistic, of course, and also have more detail to it. So I do really recommend adding these in. And if you are trying to make a like house or something themed for a certain time, like for example this one is themed around like fall / Halloween, then you can add in like the leaf pile and stuff if it's for fall. And also you can add in like trees and color them like orange, yellow, and all of those colors. And then for Christmas you can add in those dirt piles and then make them turn into snow. And you can also add in trees and then color them white to make it look like snow is on them. So anyway, that's just 2 things. Of course there's different things you can do for different seasons and stuff to make it more fitting, but basically those are just a few quick little recommendations I have for outside. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I will probably make another video similar to this one in a few weeks from now if I come up with more. But anyway, hopefully this helps you guys out to figure out different ways to make your house more detailed and realistic in Bloxburg. And also, I'm sorry for not uploading in the past week. I've been really busy. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day or night, guys. And if you guys do have some tips that you would like me to include in my next video, then please comment them down below and I will